nation, under God.
Yeah, that way, if we're going to communicate at all, we can refer back to those.
It's not a
Are you
fire
Charles?
hazard.
Yeah, I'm down.
Talk to you soon. Oh, I'll pick it up right
Or
there.
I'll go after the colors.
Yes, for you, Virginia. Number 4, letter U,
No.
VIRGININ.
Okay. Any comments from the assembly before we start?
Yes, please.
What the agenda is.
I guess we'll review the minutes from last month's
You know how it
meeting.
is, every time you search it first, you don't know. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah.
All in favor? Aye. We don't have any plan reviews. The other business will be a sidewalk plan, which Scott just handed out.
So, I know it's a little hard to figure out what the colors are and where the print is bright as I hope it will be. Basically, this was the last plan. I spoke with an operator at Great Valley, and he was kind of filling me in. There were some updates, I believe, in 2011. And again, I think this was kind of an unofficial map of where the sidewalks were or are and where they would see them getting installed. From what he provided to me, I went through the blue is actually where sidewalk had been installed since 2011. And then the little bits of yellow were kind of indicated that they were sidewalk. Technically, there's no sidewalk at those properties. Just updates. So basically, I think the ultimate intention here is to kind of look at this, I would say, is to look at what was at one time a plan for future sidewalk. Should that be changed at all? And then ultimately, where, if not shown on here, should there be an extension of sidewalk? And really, I think it's kind of a ultimate goal of what should be connected. Does it tie into a lot of places use maps like this for safe routes to school, trying to make sure you have that available. Again, I think as a starting point, I have a hard time looking at the industrial district and really justifying, do you want sidewalks all the way through there? A lot of the industrial districts established already, unless they kind of redevelop. I don't know how you're going to make them put in sidewalk, short of either doing it at the township's cost or just waiting for it to happen. And then I think you're going to have it pieced together, so there's really no sidewalk out there. But that's the green area I'm speaking of in like Hemlock and Mountain View. And really, I think we talked about this briefly, but to me, South Twin Valley going towards the Turnpike Bridge, I don't necessarily know if the township wants to put the sidewalk in there and encourage them walking down in that direction. To me, I just think completing the loop maybe around Heritage makes sense. And even on Twin Valley to Main Street, there's no sidewalk there. Does that make sense to have it there? Or is it maybe to connect over to the corner where the coffee shop is on the north corner of Main and Twin Valley, and then maybe down around Heritage and leave the... I think unless there's a future plan for widening Twin Valley, it's tough to say on the south side it's a good plan to put a sidewalk in.
I mean, I would love to see sidewalk on Twin Valley Road, but that scares me a little bit because if you do that, I mean, ultimately, you'd have to have a crosswalk at 23, which would be super dangerous. You'd be running the gauntlet there. cross at the red light.
Yeah, you don't go all the way to
I
the
have,
light.
I have never witnessed anyone crossing at the red light.
But if your kids walk from the school down there,
They do go down there, but they cut through the coffee shop property and come out down 23 further and then walk up 23.
part of the analysis might be that if people are already walking there, that they be provided sidewalks for safety.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with sidewalk down. I don't know that I would want to take it to the red light though. That would scare me to have them cross there actually.
You guys can picture this better than I can. What I know is you're coming south on Twin Valley to Main Street. Is there enough room to try to squeeze sidewalk in?
No, there's
between
no,
No,
the coffee shop and
the
the
building's
road?
right up against Twin Valley. There might be a 4-foot wide area. It might be 4 feet
Yeah.
from the shoulder of the road to the building.
well, it's only straight for one lane, but you end up with two there.
If you put a sidewalk in there, they're gonna get run over.
That's not ideal.
No, I mean, you would need a guardrail or something.
To Eric's point, I think if you ask PennDOT, they're gonna say, well, the safest place to cross is gonna be putting it in a signal. At least then you can maybe change the timing or add something to
Yeah, pedestrian activated, what do they call it?
the push buttons, which I think they're out there.
There
There's
are
no way
push
they're up to
buttons
date.
there.
They're not up to date, I can tell you right now.
They're not up to date, and the problem is, we removed the light off of South Twin Valley Road coming north because tractor trailers wiped it off the poles 100 times in a year, every year. So we removed that section of that piece
If
of
they
light.
bring sidewalk to the north side, would PennDOT require that it continue to the south? Would they require ramps, and would they require crossing,
You know
would they
what?
allow it to terminate, in other words?
I think, so typically, what PennDOT would say in that situation is, if you wanna eliminate a crossing or something, they have pedestrian, studies that you complete. And you're basically going out there doing a count at a certain time, guaranteed, because the school's nearby, they would make you count it at some time when school's letting out, so that you can really kind of catch that action.
Honest to goodness, if we were gonna put sidewalk from the school going south on Twin Valley Road, I would rather see it go between the coffee shop property and the field that's there now, when that gets developed. Maybe ask them to jointly, or the township, or whatever, put a sidewalk in and out to 23, where it's safer to actually maneuver.
So maybe,
You think route the sidewalk to Heritage Drive where the light is there, instead of crossing to South Twin Valley Road?
I would think that would be better. That would be safer.
keeping them on this side of the road. is
Maybe
what you're
make a
saying.
crosswalk somewhere around Starbucks.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I mean, it's all just hearsay, but the opposite side of Heritage, that property has always been discussed as getting developed. I've heard that recently, but you hear a lot of things and it never comes to fruition, but
Because you can't get to the red light on Twin Valley Road, on North Twin Valley Road going south. You can't walk safely on the side of that road, sidewalk or no sidewalk, from the time you get to the coffee shop property to the red light itself, to Main Street. It's completely unsafe. The traffic pattern there, if you were to see that during rush hour, when school's letting out, cars are coming into the coffee shop, school buses, school kids are coming down, they're cutting through the field to beat the red light and the school bus. I wouldn't want to walk through there, knowing what it's like.
It's almost like the way that lot is, if you could make a kind of an L through there and then.
Right, bring it
Right
out to
behind the
23, so
building,
it's a little
right.
safer.
Well,
for
there will be a
pedestrians.
pathway of behind
And why
Doug's property.
Why would the coffee shop not want, I'm not saying they would want it, but why would they not want the sidewalk to
foot
go
traffic.
through their property?
Yeah, it looks
It's gonna
more
bring
finished.
people in.
Yeah.
Unless they can't meet other requirements, pervious, it takes away impervious, or they can't do parking because they got a sidewalk.
Well,
It's not impervious now.
You know.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe as a township and the safety and the name of safety.
I would do this, though, I think it's a discussion that you have to have at the time Morgantown Coffee comes in for further development.
Right, yeah.
So I think in order to force the discussion, you have to keep sidewalk required.
see if Mr. Graham would be willing to do some favors for the township.
And then you have a discussion in the context of a waiver, or partial waiver, or of the sidewalk along the frontage because of your concerns. In exchange for that, he's gonna put it to the rear of the property or make a loop around it, and you have that discussion at that time. But if you adopt a plan here where it's now no longer required, then you lose the opportunity to have that discussion because now he has no reason to come.
Yeah, we can push for it more if it's on the drawing.
Yes, I think right now you need to keep it as required along Twin Valley and along Main Street right up to the intersection.
I'll tell you what's going through my mind very quickly, without dragging it out. When I go past there today or yesterday, there's a gentleman in front of the coffee shop. So he's between Main Street and the coffee shop, which is, again, I think it might be 3 feet there of space. He bends over to pick something up, like from at the bottom of the wall. I thought he was gonna get hit. I honestly thought a car was gonna run right with a mirror. I thought they were gonna wipe right into his hip. So I would not ask anyone to walk there.
I mean, my thoughts on it are, overall, I think where a lot of the proposed walkways make sense, but, I mean, even up to the school, it's kind of crazy to think a sidewalk all the way up there, but realistically, it's your school. I mean, to get it into town, it's, again, if nothing else, a safe route for school. I mean, there's even grants for that, I don't know if there are anymore, but there typically were grants for safe routes to school. If it ever came to that being a push to say we want to do that, but I kind of question the south of Heritage Drive, South Twin Valley, the area along Route 10, past the casino, north of it. I think in the area of Mall Lane, even though we went through the development there, and there wasn't the room with the two cemeteries to try to squeeze it in there, I think it's still good to leave it on the plan here. Who knows what happens with the cemetery, who knows that if we ever have to approach the cemeteries and discuss this with them, it's good to have that on there. But then the other area is question is kind of the Timber Road, Hemlock, and the rest of the industrial area. But Mall Lane is private too, probably required. To go in. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's everything north of that Mall Lane that wraps up along 10 that.
Just from McDonald's essentially, from McDonald's to the red light at 23, it would be nice to have continuous sidewalk to those points, because people do walk that stretch a lot. There's nowhere to put sidewalk.
Yeah, and.
Yeah, cemetery.
There's
messes
a
it
wall
up
there.
Yeah, that commercial development that's going in, Morgantown Road Commercial, it's a pretty generic name, but that one is gonna be putting I believe a ramp at each corner. If not all the corners, it may not have the one on the cemetery side on the west. So the McDonald's side, but the south side of that intersection, back corner. I can't remember if it has one there or not, but that was basically PennDOT's review and recommendation. So, but,
Now, South Street looks like that's all chopped up.
yeah. So, again, I think even if we don't come up with a final plan tonight, and maybe we do, I agree. I think where there's some of these areas that are broken up, I'm not too sure why on Maple Drive, opposite Whitman's place, where that property there, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It drops off there and you can't put a sidewalk in, but I don't know, it was a new development. I'm not too sure why that was. I don't get that, but there's that. There's even the park frontage on the parking lot near the ball field that has a little bit that could go in. I think to highlight those and make these areas green, to show it's continued, so.
I think we should show them as, future.
Yeah.
To your point about South Street, should that go from Chestnut all the way back to the cul-de-sac? I don't know if you wanna have the sidewalk all the way down to Mill Road or not.
Well, road's not a good place to be walking.
So it almost seems like maybe along South Street then, to show it. Maybe one side, I don't know, it's kind of a. I think one place that it's not shown, but right there in town, opposite of Rite Aid, the vacant lot right in the middle of town, is that as a connecting sidewalk. There's no reason not to put that sidewalk in there, so. I mean, by ordinance, if they come in and try